This is the Profit and Growth Hour, and I'm your host, Dr. Bizness, coming at you through WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. We're certainly excited about our guest here in the studio with us. She is a subject matter expert when it comes to intimate relationships, and we're excited that she's here to share tips and tricks and solutions and share some information about herself, her background, and what it is that she has going on. She's certainly a mover and shaker within the Queen City and the surrounding area and the state and the world, as a matter of fact. And we want to make sure that you get to know her real good. Her name is Nikeema Lee. She's everyone's favorite intimate relationship coach. You can always check her out on Twitter at Nikeema Lee. That's Nikeemalee. Instagram, same thing at Nikeema Lee. Facebook.com/Nikeema Lee Coaching. And check out her wonderful website at NikeemaLee.com. Once again, NikeemaLee.com. Nikeema, how you doing today?
Fantastic, Dr. Business. How are you?
I'm absolutely phenomenal.
Good.
Certainly excited about having you here in the studio with
Yes,
us.
I almost didn't know who you were talking about for
Really?
a second. I was like, oh, is he talking about me?
You sure you didn't know?
Yeah.
You know you all
Well,
that
once
in
you
the bag of
started
chips.
spelling my name, I was like, oh, that's me.
That's yours. So
Yeah.
you caught on. I
got
sort of
it.
gave it away.
Yeah,
Okay.
slightly.
All right. That is certainly good to know. You know how to
Yes.
spell your name.
I do.
Yes.
I learned it really early, though.
Okay. That's an important piece of information one needs to know.
Yes.
Reading and writing is fundamental.
Yes, it is. It's
Although
important.
some people think that we don't need it. And I guess that's the reason why in America we
We're a little
trail
slow.
other countries when it
Slightly.
comes to education.
Exactly.
Because we don't prioritize it.
We don't. I think in the age that we're in, just to piggyback off the conversation, that with technology, I remember not really knowing how to spell because spell check was so prominent in elementary school when I was
Yes.
growing up. So I really didn't have a need to go to a dictionary to learn how to spell a word because the little red squiggly line underneath my word was going to tell me it was wrong.
That is true.
So I put out many documents with misspelled words.
My daughter, even today, will admit that spelling is not her forte. And it frustrates me. And I ask why, and she said because it doesn't have to be, because it's the computer's forte.
Right.
So the computer will tell me when it's wrong, and then I right click and it'll go ahead and it'll fix it.
Right.
Therefore, why do I have the need to?
Right, and I paid
Yeah.
$2,000 for this computer, so it
Exactly.
better spell
So
check for it.
it better spell correct. Each and every word,
And
it
it-
better spell correctly.
And I have a program that tells me if I use a word wrong, like there and there, it'll tell me, are you sure?
Grammar.
And I love it.
Yeah, run-on sentences. It tells you all that. We no longer need to think.
No, you don't need to think. But you need to think in order to really, go far in this world. You can't leave it up to the computers.
That is true, especially when there's a power outage.
And he's funny, ladies and gentlemen.
You okay?
Okay.
Why don't you tell our listeners about Nikeema Lee? Who is Nikeema Lee?
That's a good question. Who is she? Well, the last time I talked to her, she was a very, very confident, very loving, free-spirited young lady. And through many years of transgressions, I came to that understanding. I learned
Transgressions?
Transgressions. I said that right, didn't I?
I'm trying to figure out what transgressions you've been through in your young years of living.
Well,
all the trials and tribulations you've gone through and going up the rough side of the mountain. And
Right.
whatnot.
Well, I've been around a few years, a couple decades, or 3 or 4 or 3 or so,
Okay.
a couple of decades. I what's the word I'm looking for? I contribute my youthfulness to my ability to discover who I am.
Okay.
Becoming authentic is something that I did not discover until I was 32. I did not know who I was. I had no self-identity. I had no self-esteem. I had no self-worth or anything.
Wow.
And in that particular moment in my life, I decided that life for me was no longer livable. So I decided to take it. I decided upon my own accord, this life that God has given me to share with the world was no longer viable. So I'll take it. And
take it
take it as in end it, as in
bye-bye,
as in I dropped my children off at my grandmother's house and said goodbye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Really. And in that process, I stayed in a facility for a few days, and it allowed me to discover what the root cause was. And just because I had been through a lot in my short time, I discovered that my root cause was when I was 11 years old, my mother left me. Like, I came home from school, and she said, I'm leaving and you can't go. So ever since then, that moment has been the defining moment for all of my decisions. So I was making decisions just to please other people so that they would never leave, so that they would always be there for me, so that they would always, I could never be thrown away again. And I had made those discoveries, and I was also doing things just to prove people wrong. Like, I got a master's degree just because they said I couldn't.
You couldn't. Okay.
Right. I did it in 13 months just because they said it would take me 4 or 5 years because I had a child and I was married at the time. I was like, what? I could go to school 17 credit hours, hold down a 40-hour-a-week job, and have a husband and a brand new baby. You can't tell me I can't do these things.
Because you're Superwoman.
Because they told me I couldn't. You tell me I can't, trust me, I'm going to do it. That's the best way to get me to do something.
Some people, unfortunately, have an opposite reaction to that.
Really?
You tell them that they can't, and they're like, okay.
Okay, I can't.
You can't get this job. Okay. You can't be president of the United States. Okay. You can't go into the military and whatever. Okay. You can't.
No. And I think having that little bit of self-preservation helped me to achieve. And I was to the point where I was achieving, but I still had that root of, I don't want anybody to leave me. I want somebody to love me. So I kept sabotaging my life. And I would succeed and I would sabotage and succeed and sabotage. So eventually I got to the point where I had achieved moving to North Carolina, was making $70,000 a year, was a engineer. I was big time, right?
Can't tell you nothing.
Can't tell me anything. And then I had this wild hair one day that said, you should go out and sell women adult toys. And I said, okay, I could do that because I know adult toys. I've been in adult toys before. I know where they go.
Yeah.
I think I could do
Not
this.
too many different places, so
And
yeah,
I just
you can sort of narrow down the...
the particulars, right?
Yeah.
I'm good at people. I could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Okay.
And I just
That's a
thought,
good quality to have, by the way.
You should.
Because, if you can sell, you never go broke in
You'd
your
never
life.
go broke.
You can always sell something. In fact, the first thing that you probably learn how to sell is yourself.
Yes.
Because if you can't do that, you ain't even going to get a job.
That's the first thing I learned is how to pack my resume. Yeah. So I learned stuff.
But not lie.
No, not lie.
Embellish, though.
Right. I know. I mean, when I say
Accentuate
pack it,
the
I mean,
positives.
I could do those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I made it a point to go out and do extra stuff just so that I can have a better resume than the person next to me.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, I was.
It's wisdom.
Yeah. Young, though.
Yeah. Well,
Young.
once you combine experiences with education, that's where wisdom comes into play.
What?
And that's something that somebody can't take back because you got the best of both worlds that are operating in your life and you're able to bestow that upon other people in order to help them grow and expand
And
their
here
borders.
I am today.
That's
Look at
right.
that.
But you were talking about adult toys.
Right, adult toys. So I get into this business and I'm doing well. I'm selling, I didn't go into another organization and pay them a commission. I just started my own distribution, started my own company, had my own inventory, and decided that, I love this thing of me having to achieve on my own. Not in the forethought of, well, how am I going to pay the rent? Or how am I going to pay the car note? Or how am I going to pay? It was, this is what I want to do. I do not want to be under the tyranny of someone telling me I can take vacation or when I can leave work or when I have to come to school or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
I just
considered tyranny?
I felt like I'm too old for somebody to tell me what to do.
Because the majority of people, based upon that definition, is under tyranny.
You are.
Especially if you join the military.
I was in there. I was in the military.
Between the military, the prison system, in corporate America, that's 95% of the tyranny that exists.
I'm just saying, they all have the same corporate structure.
Tell you what to do, what not to do, take a little 15-minute smoke breaks.
Right.
And tell you when to pee and when to come back and when to go home. And
And I just felt that life was not
It wasn't
for
you.
me. No.
Now, see, I wanted that life.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked hard to try to get that life.
Mm-hmm.
And did all the right things and went to school and excelled and dean's list and this and that and got the education, got the experience. But then nobody wanted to hire me.
Hmm.
They like threw me away. They were like, "Who are you?" And we don't want you. And
Oh.
I like you said, "Well, you know what? You don't got to want me.
Right.
Because I want me.
Exactly.
And God wants me.
Exactly.
And I know who I am and I know whose I am, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to create my own, which is why for 24 years, that's what I've been doing.
Right.
So never had the quote-unquote steady paycheck and the guarantees
Right.
and the softy comfies.
Yes.
Everything I've made I had to do based upon the sweat of my brow
Right.
and putting my hands, so to speak, to the gospel plow in order
Right.
to make it happen.
And it feels so good. Now, I haven't been doing it as long as you. I've only been doing it about 6 years now.
Just 6 years?
Just six.
Oh, you a
6
baby.
years. But I've grown,
Oh.
I think, so much. But I think I do have so much more to do, so much more to go.
A lot of the growth and development
Yeah.
are in the earlier years of development, just like with a child.
Mhm.
A child changes its most in the first
Yeah.
5 years,
Yeah.
but then, after that starts to slow
Starts
down.
to settle in to who
Mhm.
they really are.
Right, they don't grow an inch every day anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me about
Another
it.
pair of shoes?
Another pair? I'm
Shoot,
not buying
just
them.
just cut the
We going
front
right to
out of
Goodwill.
them, and they could be a sandal now.
Right.
Yeah,
You
you
done
got to
that?
improvise.
I've done that.
I've seen it.
I've
done.
cut
I've
the back out
actually
of the
done
shoe
it, but
twice in my life.
Yeah,
I've done it.
I've always thought that to be interesting.
Yeah.
When-
Well, I like just to keep the story going. I eventually spent some time just sort of reflecting and figured out who I was, and that my root of my problem, of my sabotaging behavior, was because of this abandonment. So
Mhm.
I dealt with the broken, bitter, and destroyed 11-year-old that was inside of me. And I
Mhm.
started to love Nikeema. And it started with just a look in the mirror every day, and I'd say, "I love your smile." Because people would compliment me all the time. "You have a nice smile. You have a nice smile." I'm like, I'm ugly. People don't like me. I had this self-defeating prophecy on my head.
Mm.
So eventually, every day for about 6 months, "You have a nice smile, Nikeema. You have a really nice smile." And then it just grew to you have nice eyes, to you have nice hair, to you have, and I began to love Nikeema. And what happens is when you love who you are, people around you will love you.
Wow.
It's like an attraction thing.
Mhm.
And I would get these random comments from random people like, "You have a really nice smile. I just wanted to tell you." They'd be like, "Really? Thank you." And it just has grown and grown and grown. And I became more confident within myself. I started to attract more people who would support that in me.
Mm.
And it's just, I've just blossomed ever since.
I have a friend of mine that believes very strongly, and I concur, when it comes to commanding your day.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times based upon how we wake up in the morning
Mhm.
and what our mindset is when we start our day, that has a huge impact on the course of our day.
Yes.
Because we're starting our day in a positive mindset. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be prosperous. I'm going to run into these people. These doors are going to open. This is going to happen. I'm going to get this and that and the other thing. And when we start speaking those things, lo and behold, as you just explained, we start to experience those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to be able to encourage ourselves.
Yes.
Because if we don't love ourselves, not in a vain way,
Right.
but if we don't love ourselves, then why should anybody else love us? If we're not passionate about what it is that we do, why should anybody else be passionate about what we do?
Right. And a teacher, a guidance counselor, gave me that exact same word in high school. She's like, "Nikeema, if you don't love you, no one's going to love you." And I was like, poppycock.
Whatever. Mhm.
Whatever.
But
it was
years
true.
later,
You get it, and I
you bring
understood.
it back to your remembrance.
Yeah.
And now you start to apply those principles,
Mhm.
which is why it's so important not to throw away the nuggets that I think we get from a myriad of individuals that we come across.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we write people off
Mhm.
as not
That's crazy.
right. And there are statistics that
Yeah.
show every other person is probably crazy
Mhm.
to a certain degree. Some mild
Right.
crazy, some severe crazy,
Mhm.
but a lot of people got a whole lot of crazy in them to some degree.
Right.
So it's about being able to chew in the meat, spit out the bones,
Mhm.
because everybody that you come across can provide value and significance to your life. Even from the littlest things, even from the homeless person, even the person on the street corner saying, "I'll work for food."
Yeah.
There is a contribution, even if it's not necessarily what it is that you want or what it is that you should do, but maybe it's what it is that you shouldn't do, or what it is you don't want to be like. And then you can now start making decisions that either go in tandem with that or go against the grain in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because oftentimes we entertain angels unaware. Oftentimes we have people in our lives, even if it's for a season, that can teach us a thing in order to help us get to the next level.
Right. And I think a lot of us are so afraid. We sit in prayer at night and cry into the pillow to God and say, please take me to the next level, or please save me from this circumstance. And God will show up at the front door and you'll be like, oh, no, I'm not ready. Or no, this is not happening right now. This is moving too fast. And it's just like, I'm in the proper vein to say, stop asking God for favors if you're not really ready for them.
Absolutely.
Because if it was me, and I'm not God, and I'm not saying that I am, but if it was me and you keep asking me for stuff in the middle of the night, waking me up from my sleep or from the other things that I've got going on, and you're talking about, right, he takes a nap, he's rested on the seventh day.
On the seventh day, that's right, he's chilling.
So he's like, I'm coming to your rescue every 6 or 7 months, and every time I send somebody, you say, oh no, I'm not ready, or I'm not ready to make the commitment, or I'm not ready to put down the money, or I'm not ready to make the move, Stop. Stop asking for it, because every time you ask, because I just read this morning Matthew 7:7. If you ask, he's going to give it to you. If you seek it, you should find it. If you knock, it's going to be open unto you. Like, stop it. If you're not going to do it, then stop asking for it. I tell people I'm an angel. If I'm in your life, you've asked for me to come into your life for a reason. You sat down somewhere and you mirrored me up, and here I am. Now let's go. Let's work.
The steps of a good man or woman are ordered by the Lord. So when your steps get ordered into the life of somebody else, you need to take advantage of your advantages and be able to capitalize upon that relationship and that which they bring to the table. Family, we're here talking to Nikeema Lee. Be sure to get in contact with her through social media, through her website. Check out NikeemaLee.com, Nikeema Lee.com. She's all over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Nikeema Lee or Nikeema Lee Coaching. She's everyone's favorite intimate relationship coach. And when we come back from break, we'll talk about exactly what that means as you laugh. You're listening to the Profit and Growth Hour, and I am Dr. Bizness here on WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. Don't go anywhere.